Raise your hand if you're a burned out overachiever in your mission. Have you ever felt trapped on the brink of burnout, standing on the abyss of your high-paced, high-flying corporate career just to realize it was all smoke and mirrors and the corner office is worth shit? That was ever you, or if this is you, tune in to the Scenic Route Podcast as Lindsay May, founder of the Happy Marketing Co., guides you through her journey from corporate burnout to thriving entrepreneur, sharing actionable tips to help you make the leap. Hi, and welcome to the Scenic Route Podcast, where we believe in embracing life's journey with purpose, curiosity, and a bit of potty humor. I'm Jen, a sociologist, someone's uncool mom, and I'm always looking out for that perfect slice of gluten-free rhubarb pie. Every week, I get the joy of sitting down with dreamers and doers who dare to take the road less traveled in pursuit of their own magic. Together, we dive into the inspiring stories of soulful entrepreneurs and visionary leaders who boldly share their beliefs, lessons, and fuck-ups. Excited? So am I. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And now, let's take this conversation off the beaten track. Lindsay May is an award-winning strategic marketing leader with 15 years of experience scaling businesses from startups to corporation. After leaving the 9-to-5 behind in January 2023, Lindsay launched her own SEO and website consultancy, The Happy Marketing Co., where she helps female founders grow through strategic website optimization and design. Recently, Lindsay launched The Happy Lead Her, a community and podcast for women in leadership roles who want to heal from burnout, find fulfillment, and celebrate bold action. Her mission is to help women feel less alone in business, whether they work in corporate, for a startup, or run their own business. Okay, Lindsay, welcome to the Scenic Route Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So today, it's fair to say your business is like a bit more than a year old now, is it?
Yeah, like a year and a month. So very new.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of like new to the circus, but you've still been around the block.
Yes.
So this will be really interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of like talk about what you kind of like did to start your business. What was kind of like, let's kick it off with was there like a pivotal moment, a moment that kind of like was switch where you were like, okay, no, I'm done with corporate. I'm going to do this on my own?
Yeah. Yeah, there were kind of two moments. Just quickly, the first one was when I was in my second to last corporate job and I worked like a 12-hour day and it was like 8 p.m. and I was like, I'm going to go to bed because I have to do this again tomorrow. So I'm just going to turn everything off, go to bed. And literally the next morning, I got in trouble for going to bed early because I wasn't available after 8 p.m. to talk. So that was one of the first moments. And I love sharing that because I feel like the more and more I talk to people about that, they're like, yep, sounds like my job. And then I switched jobs because I was like, maybe it's just this company, right? And so I went to another corporate job for more of a startup and I loved it. And I thought, oh, that was just the issue. It was just the business. And then after about 6 months, started traveling every month, once or twice a month, and working the 12-hour days again, wearing all the hats, doing all the things. And after about 8 months, I was like, I'm exhausted again. Like I'm completely burned out and I don't have any support from my boss or from a team. I'm just feel like I'm all on my own. And so I had a conversation with my boss and I was like, I'm experiencing some extreme burnout and I know there's a lot that I can do, but I would really love to find some support because I was in a marketing role and operations where I was wearing all of the hats, doing all of the work, and I was just exhausted. And you can't show up as a leader and run a company when you're running on like an empty tank, right? And again, I know there's a lot that I could have done, but I was just like, can I get some help? Like I'm working 14 hours a day. I'm traveling twice a month. This is just overwhelming. And they basically said, well, I want you to travel more in the next year. So I want you to kind of decide, are you all in or is this not right for you anymore? And I honestly think that they were kind of surprised when I came back the next day and I was like, I quit. I have to choose myself. Like I'm having panic attacks every day. And so that was unconventional because I had no job lined up. But that was the moment where I was like, okay, I've got to choose myself. This is crazy. And there's just no way I can keep up with this.
Yes. Oh God. I mean, congratulations for like doing that. I mean, yeah, I mean, when I look back, it took me also quite a few turns where it's like, okay, now it's really like, no, now is enough. Um,
Yeah.
because yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember I felt scared and like,
Mm.
what? Like scared of this not working out, scared of like, what will it, what will I tell myself if this is
Mm.
not working out? Like, what do I make this mean about myself if
Yeah.
things are not working out? And I
Yeah.
had to laugh, like internal laugh about what you said, like, oh, you went, like they kind of like gave you like a hard time for going home at 8. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I have the same story with the acceptate with the like, but my story, it was like 3 a.m. and I had an hour commute and I knew I had a 7:30 meeting again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
And then so I was home at 4 a.m. I slept for 2 hours and then I got back and I was there for the 7:30 meeting with my boss and she fucking fired my sorry ass.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like, sure. Okay. Well, yeah.
Right.
So I mean, there were so many red flags,
Mm.
but I was just kind of like, no, let's ignore those. So
Right.
I like, yeah, kudos
Yeah.
for like seeing the red flags and actually acknowledging them for what they are, and then like, no, enough.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, like so when you started, then like, when was the first time where you're like, or was there a time when you were like, but
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
I thought I just probably made a really big mistake.
Yeah. I think like the next day where I was like, I was so brave and confident and I was like, screw you.
Yeah,
And
the
then I was
first high
like,
has
oh
worn off.
shit. Yeah. Where I was like, oh, they just told me when I'm going to get my last paycheck and that scares me. And I'm no longer going to have benefits or anything. And I actually quit right before Christmas. And I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to find another job, like interview for jobs during the holidays because everyone's out of the office. And so I definitely was really nervous and really scared. I definitely had an oh shit moment where I was like, what do I do now? And so I started contracting because I was like, I have no idea how long this is going to take to find a job. But I was interviewing for, I mean, I think I had like 24, 25 interviews within 1 or 2 months. And all of them just reminded me of where I came from. And I was like, there's no
Mm.
way. Like, I can't go back to what I just left, what I just risked in my career. And so that was kind of when I was like, could I turn this into a career? Like, could I become my own boss and make this full time? And so, yeah, I mean, it's really scary, but at the same time, when you're treated a certain way in corporate or from anyone, right, you have to realize this is not good for me anymore. And you have to make a decision. And I mean, I think it takes a lot of bravery and courage in the moment. And I mean, sometimes you're just like, I quit, and you just scream in the middle of a meeting or whatever. I haven't done that, but I've wanted to many times. But you never know when that's going to come up for you. And so for me, I just had to trust my gut and then figure out the rest. And I did, thankfully. But yeah, it's very scary.
Yeah,
Ah,
it's interesting that the trust your gut like theme. How did kind of like manifest for yourself? Do you really
yeah.
like how did your body manifest? Like, okay, now you said already with the burnout, like you're
Mhm.
realizing, okay, now it's really time to kind of like let go. Um,
Yeah.
and how was the switch from like the okay, now I'm really letting go? Like, do you
Mm.
remember like how that felt in that moment?
Yeah. Well, about a month or maybe two before I quit, I was at an event with this company and I was in another state in the US and I just had a feeling that that was my last trip. And it's so weird. I even
Oh,
have chills right now like thinking about it because I mean, when you get to that point in your life where it's so extreme, where you're experiencing burnout or just anxiety, depression, whatever, when your body gives you a signal like that, I just had to trust it. I didn't take action right away, but I did text someone and I was like, "This is my last trip with them. I know it. I don't know how, but this is my gonna be my last trip." And yeah, a couple months later, I think my boss had a talk with me because I mentioned the burnout before. And then this was like a follow-up, like, how are you doing with your burnout? Are you managing your time better? And I was like, yes, I'm
Mm.
managing my 12, 14-hour days better. Thank you. But, I
Yeah.
think kind of the ultimatum that I was given, I was like, this is a bigger sign. Like, this is literally the test of like, are you going to choose yourself or are you going to stay here and be miserable? So sometimes it shows up like that. And for those of you who are like, how do I trust my gut? Like, how do I get to that point?
Hmm.
I think you have to start paying attention. Like, how does your body
Yeah.
feel when you're about to get on to a work meeting, right? Like, I was always so anxious. Sometimes I would cry before a meeting or after a meeting. And I would just,
Oh no.
like, you can tell in your body and in your heart and in your soul, and other people around you too are like, are you okay? Like, you seem really stressed or you seem whatever. And
Yeah.
so
Or
I
just
think it's
down or
right. Like
mm,
you have to be present and listen to your body and just figure out like what am I trying to tell myself here? Like is it I need to go on a vacation for a week and then I'll come back and be fine, or is it I need to figure out what else is out there for me?
mm, yeah, that's beautiful. What else is out there? And it's so right. Like when often, and I remember back to my when I started out in my entrepreneurial journey, one is very quick to look for outside solution,
Mm.
right? And yes, you have to look what's out there, but and it's so beautiful that you kind of like put the emphasis back on intuition again and again, right? Because you kind of like have to know what you want to do,
Mm.
um, and to not kind of get lost in this whole glitzy world of Instagram entrepreneurs
Oh
who
yeah.
tell you whatever, um, and to kind of like see through this facade most of the time, and to
Yeah.
kind of like really be centered in yourself and knowing yourself of like, okay, what do I want to do? What am I capable of doing in this
Mm.
season? And not kind of like get lost in all of that. How was that for
Yeah.
you? Like the whole social media comparison, 90s.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
That was tough because I was involved in social media before all of this with personal accounts and all of that. But when I became an entrepreneur and launched the Happy Marketing Co., I of course had to get an Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all the things. And then, I kept being recommended to me like you need a personal brand. People need to see the person behind, the business. And so I did that too. But once you open yourself up to that and you put yourself out there, there are so many coaches out there and entrepreneurs that are like, oh yeah, like you can start a business and make 100 grand in your second month. And you're like, oh, so it's really easy. And then you do it and you're like, I have zero clients. I think I made $1,000 in my second month. And it's possible to scale to six figures quickly, but they don't really tell you the rawness of that. They don't really show you all of the work that you have to put in. And so I had to figure that out month by month and during each season of my business in the last year. And so for me, I started following all the business coaches, Amy Porterfield too, and Jenna Kutcher and all these like big names in marketing because I'm in marketing. And it just got so overwhelming when I thought like, maybe I'm not cut out for this because they're
Mm,
making millions of dollars and I'm over here just trying to get a new client, right? And so I think you have to turn off the noise and yes, you can get inspired, but maybe follow one person that you look up to, like one coach or one entrepreneur that you're like, that's a level I want to get to. And I know that they can provide value for me. And what they're sharing is helpful for me rather than harmful. But I think everywhere else, like all those other accounts and coaches
mm.
and entrepreneurs, you have to either mute them or unfollow them because it's just noise. Like you just get in your head and you're like, not only comparing your business, but you're like, my podcast space looks different than theirs, or like their
I
mic
mean,
they're
their entire
using, or
business looks different, right? They have like
yeah,
a team of 30 or something, right? Like,
yes,
I mean,
yeah,
if you're winging it with like a part-time VA or something, this is not the same. I
Right.
mean,
It's
yeah.
not, it's raw. Yeah.
Yes, and it's yeah, I remember. Oh God, I remember there was a time when I was like for sure I knew okay, I needed to do B school, Marie Forleo's B
Mhm.
school because I need to know about business. And
Yeah.
and and then I had like this moment of clarity where I'm like, well, actually like bitch, no. Like what am I even why am I even like it
Yeah.
was more like I realized I mean, you can do all the courses
Yeah.
you want. That's fine. If as long as you're clear about the intention of this course, maybe you want
Yeah.
to do a course because you're curious, because it sounds fun, because I don't know, you might like the community that comes with the course, whatever. But
Yeah.
if you're patching yourself to see something as kind of like the silver bullet, this or else,
Yeah.
I would be really, really careful with proceeding.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think I spent $3,500 on a course the second month of business to learn more about Instagram ads and promoting yourself as an entrepreneur in ads. And I think I took one module before I actually did the rest of the course because you're also changing so much in your first
Mhm.
few months of entrepreneurship that you don't really know what you need yet. And I also invested in a mastermind after about 6 months in my business. And I was like, I'm trying to spend all of the money that I'm making, and you don't have to do that. Like, you don't need a life coach and a business coach and this course and that course and this membership. Like, there's so many resources out there. And yes, like, they're all trying to sell you because that's their business, right? And so you have to figure out, like, what do I need support with? Like, am
Mm.
I struggling with sales? Am I struggling with confidence? Like, what is the number one thing that you're struggling with in your business? And then yes, find something that you can invest in with that because I
Yeah.
do think business coaches are helpful and programs are helpful, but all of them is just so much noise. And I found myself not doing any of them because I had my hands in too many areas of learning, right? So I think you
Mhm.
have to focus on what you really need help with and invest in that, but you don't have
Yeah.
to do it all at once either.
Yes. And okay, so I'm assuming what you're doing now with the happy marketing is somewhat related to what you did before when you were employed,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So you're still doing
Yeah.
marketing services and search engine
Yeah.
optimization and those things, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Which I mean is also like kind of an unfair advantage, right? Because I mean, no, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
if someone who was doing structural gardening before decides
Yeah.
I actually my dream passion is to do websites. I mean,
Right.
fair play, you go do, right? But they're starting at a different baseline than you do
Yeah.
or I did. I mean, I did branding and then am now doing branding. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
so it was a different advantage. Like there it's a different advantage as when you're just kind of like starting out like from
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And that also I feel is often getting downplayed in people who scale to 6, 7 figures rather quickly, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, support. Well, I mean, not. It's not just like like a logical consequence, but there is privilege and advantage in if you're offering a service you have done so before,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel it's really important to be transparent about this
Yeah.
and not
For
just like,
sure.
oh, I came out of nowhere with no background whatsoever and now I have 6 figures.
Yeah.
Okay.
True. So true. And I think for me, having 13, 14 years of marketing experience, the easy way, easy, quote unquote, to start a business was like, I'm going to keep doing the same thing because I know how to do that. And it's going to take less time to get clients and get off the ground. But then I niche down because most people niche down after they figure out, like, this is what I like to do and I don't want to do this anymore. And so, yes, I totally agree. I think it's easier to do something that you've been doing, especially if you came from corporate. But I would say, like, I went all in very quickly and had to start from scratch still. It's just in a very different way. But yes, we had very linear, kind of paths to entrepreneurship. So for sure we had an advantage, but also it's like a totally different learning curve.
Yeah.
Like now we're doing it as business owners rather than where they're the business owner. And if they lose money or if they, close down or if they have a service that didn't work out, like they can figure it out, but I'm just working here versus us. We're like, we have to go all in with
Yeah.
our services, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said before, like, okay, you kind of like have to be sure of what you really need to work on. And I'd say, I don't know, correct me if you're not, if you have a different sentiment about this, but if you have some experience, some certain level of experience in corporate, and I mean, I have 15 plus years to and like design, advertising, branding, so on. So seen a lot of shit. It was kind of easier, I suppose, to kind of like identify, ooh, okay, this is kind of like the rocky patch in my client journey or funnel or however you want to call it. Whereas, again, someone else will be like, ugh, okay, so how can someone go about actually identifying where the problem is, right? Because most of the time when I was consulting, for example, give you an example here, when I was consulting on digital, like on paid digital ads, like Google ads, for example, and they were like not performing, they were performing shit. 8 out of 10, the root cause was lack of branding, lack of positioning, lack of clear messaging, lack of value proposition. Like just the work, the base work hasn't properly done. So everything else on top was just like, ick. And then it like, how's the cards?
Yeah.
Right. So I knew they would come to me for like, oh, I need support with my like paid ads. I'm like, well, no, honey, you actually need help with your branding. So how can we figure out where do we actually need help with?
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. You know what? It's hard because we know ourselves so well and what we have in terms of our ideas and what we want to launch in business, whatever. And so a baker, for example, knows their recipes and knows what they excel at because they literally make cakes, cupcakes, whatever, and they're amazing and people love them. But for them to translate their skills and what they're good at into content, for example, or branding or what marketing they actually need to launch it with, like that's really hard, right? That's why people like us exist because we're like, my business is helping you and your business thrive. But I think for one, it's figuring out like who is your audience, right? Like who is actually going to buy from you. I know of a baker who she still sells cakes. She does incredible wedding cakes, but now she's also a business coach for other bakers, which is funny. Like that's a funny dynamic that a lot of people are doing now, teaching kind of what they've learned. But I think you have to realize that it's now interpreting your experience in whatever field you're in. If you're a gardener, if you're a baker, if you own a yoga studio, you have to look at it from your audience's perspective. Like, what do they need to see and read and feel in order to buy from you? It's not just you have the skills. And if you don't know how to talk about your business, that's where you partner with a marketer or a content writer, right? Or even AI. I mean, there's so many tools out there. You don't have to spend $10,000 on some webpage copy, even though it is really important. But it's important to think like your audience, no matter who you are or what your business is. And that will at least help you figure out how to speak to them rather than speaking in, this talk that you've just been talking to your customers in your bakery forever, whatever. It's just like a new online world that you have to just realize those areas. And also having the essential ways to communicate, ways to grow your business, like a website and SEO, because it is so powerful. It does help you reach your audience, but you have to have I mean, you have to have a brand. You have to have a way to showcase your brand and your product, your service. So it is kind of thinking through those core essentials for marketing. And even if your brand doesn't work like that, you know who your customer is. So it all comes back to thinking like your customer and really everything that you do, targeting them with that copy or that design or that brand and learning too. I mean, we all have to learn new things, even though you and I have come from marketing and
Yeah.
now that's what we do in our business. It's still we still have so much to learn. I had no
Yes.
idea how to have a personal brand or do a photo shoot for myself or whatever. I launched a podcast 6 months ago and I had to learn how to do all of that too. So it's not just like, oh, if you're marketing, your business is going to do so well. I had no idea how to run a business, even though I'm a marketer. So we're all, on the same level, even though we have
Yes.
marketing experience, we're still learning every single day.
Yes. That's such a beautiful sentiment of it's I think one of the core qualities in entrepreneurship is just being humble, right?
Yeah.
Because you know shit, right?
Yeah.
Because and because also like the landscape is changing so quickly, right?
Yeah.
Like suddenly we have like a new app, new social media app, or we have like AI, or we have whatever kind of like
Yeah.
regulatory systems in place that you can no longer do this or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's changing so quickly. So I don't know, I'm always like, oh, wait, when did threads come up? Like, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really like I think it's a very good approach to be humble and be like, we're kind of like learning every day.
Yeah.
And also like that when I talk to people of like, oh, I've done my branding now. I'm good. I'm like, sure, that's fine. But you're kind of downplaying or forgetting that all these kind of like ecosystems are living and breathing things,
Mm.
right? As you said, oh, you have to have your client, your audience, your customers in mind.
Yeah.
They are like living and changing and being human too.
Yeah.
They change, they grow older, they have kids, they whatever, they go through life as well, and their needs and desires may change. So
Mm.
what maybe has been working um for the past 2 years, and I had this with funny enough with two clients, what was working right before COVID wasn't working anymore after COVID, right?
Mm.
Because just there were fundamental things that have kind of like shifted and their marketing just didn't hit the spot anymore.
Yeah.
And it was super successful before, and now it was just like, eh, not like
Yeah.
completely dry, but it was just not hitting that sweet spot anymore as it did before. So
Yeah.
it's really kind of like being humble every day and seeing, oh, okay, where can I like,
Mm.
what can I learn? What do I don't know? And
Yeah.
being honest about that to
Oh,
yourself.
yeah. I mean, even I've worked in social media for so long, but 15 years ago, it was like we're sharing a random photo with a filter. And these days, it's so different. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
marketer and I had to learn how to use social media in 2023, 2024, right? It's so different. It changes every year, to your point. And life changes, your audience changes. And I just thought my business was going to like blow up because I know how to market, these crazy brands that have helped scale, but my business was so different. I had to realize I'm marketing services, right? It's just really hard to, figure out what that looks like for you, but once you do, you're like, okay, now I get it. But I totally agree. You have to be humble. You have to fall on your ass a couple of times and be like, now I've learned what to do and what not to do. And yeah, these like, influencers and coaches who are selling, the resale rights courses and marketing and all that, like they're making a shit ton of money. And I'm a marketer with actual traditional marketing experience and they're like skyrocketing, right? So you just really never know what's out there and you can't compare yourself because everyone's in a different phase of life and phase of business.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just like luck too. Like you have no idea who's going to see your brand and take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So definitely have to be humble.
Yes. It's luck. It's privilege. I mean,
Yeah.
we know the algorithm is performing better if you're like pretty and white. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those things we know, right? And
Yeah.
at the same time, right? It's, I remember, let me tell you, like, how I'm curious, it probably was similar to your experience. You come from your, when you do, when you go out on your own and you're doing a service that you've been paid before to do, you
Mm-hmm.
know you got this. You know you can do it. You may have the accolades to prove it, the
Mm-hmm.
portfolio to show it. And then you go out and you realize no one actually fucking cares how good you do your job,
No one
right?
cares.
You so it's kind of like, okay, I have to become the best marketer
Yeah.
so that people actually realize I am actually good at what I do. And this
Mm,
was like a really tough pill for me to swallow, right? Like not, and a part was ego for sure.
mm,
But
mm-hmm.
I'm like, why why don't people just get how awesome I am?
Yeah, right? I have all this experience.
Like
Why don't you
I am
come to
so
me?
awesome. Like, why
Yeah.
don't you get it? Why do I have to do like stupid marketing?
I know, right? There's like a strategy here. I thought you just like I launched and now you become my
Yeah,
client. Like,
I publish just hit publish on my website. So now you better come and buy. Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Yeah. I still say that sometimes, but it does take a little bit more than that.
What was your biggest marketing fuck up? Do you have one?
Oh, yeah. Going back to the essentials of what to launch your business with, I did not put time and energy into email. Like I was like, I
Mm,
don't need email. I'm just gonna literally cold email from my Gmail account. I don't need like a system. I don't need to build my list. And that's like one of the first things that business coaches say that I'm always like, yeah, but I don't need an email list because I'm just going to go out there, kind of like what you were saying, it's all ego, right? We have this experience and I was marketing myself terribly. And I didn't have an email list for like 6 months. And now I barely even promote it now. So it's like, again, even though we're conditioned about these marketing things, like if we don't incorporate them and
mm,
use the strategy that we teach our clients, then our business is not going to thrive as much. So, like, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'll say that. I don't market my business perfectly. And also, yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's like consistency. If I'm not consistent on Instagram with my business profile, like you can tell, like I literally will get like 50 views on a reel that I'm like, this was killer content. Like, what the hell? Why aren't people watching it? Like, do you know that I have all this experience? And it's like, yeah, but there's a strategy. Like, there has to be a strategy. You have to get over what you think the world is like out there when you're doing something
mm,
new for the first time. And so, yeah, I definitely learned that I need to have like a strategy session with myself and become the client and be like, Lindsay,
mm,
you need a fucking email list. You need to promote your services if you want a client, right? Like it's just the obvious things sometimes we just forget in business, and that's okay. We learn from it,
yeah.
but yeah, it's embarrassing.
I mean, the stories that made us, including the
Yes.
fuck ups. Like you
Yep.
said that you were like terribly at marketing yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, this may or may not be true. But surely it's less now because your
Hmm.
business is still here. You're still here. You're not living under
Yeah.
a bridge, so you're doing something, right? Like,
Yeah.
what has shifted from you marketing yourself terribly to better? Like, I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, was there like something internal you kind of like switched or a
Yeah.
story you told yourself differently?
Yeah, I think I had a big mindset shift, especially when I was in the mastermind and started talking about my business in front of other people, where I was like, I am not selling myself at all. Like, I had to go through the shift of like, I have to promote myself, but I also need to know what my business is and who I am as an entrepreneur. And I think for a long time, I didn't call myself an entrepreneur. I think I
Mm.
was just missing confidence. I was like, yeah, I have a little business, or
Or
like I'm a
freelancing
contractor.
or
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, no, I'm full time in this business, even if I only have a couple clients at the time. And yeah, I think I just had zero confidence because I had no idea what I was doing. And I thought it would be easy, but going into the social media world and all of that, it's like, oh shit, there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of people doing it their way and it's working for them. I think I also needed to be more authentic. Like being in corporate, you're conditioned so much to be like money, 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 and perfection and overworking yourself. And so I thought I had to be perfect. But then I figured out like people actually want to see authenticity. They want to see the face behind the
we want to see the
brand.
mess.
Yes, they want to see the messy moments, even if it's like, you know what, I just launched this program and I spelled something wrong and I'm a marketer myself, right? Like people just want to know that you're a human because they'll connect with you on a deeper level. And so for me, I had to be like, number one, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a business, it's official, and I'm going all in with it. And number two, I have to be authentic. I can't just be perfect and post every day on social media and have it be perfect and nothing like fun or showing my personality. I really had to find my authenticity because I am the business at the end of the day. I'm a solopreneur. And so I think that really helped me get over I don't know, just like the mind fuckery of like
Hmm.
everything has to be perfect, especially when it's your business and all of that. So I think that really helped me, figure out what I want to post on social media, what I want my website to look like. I totally redesigned my website recently and it looks like me. It looks like my brand and
Mm.
it's fun and I'm not trying to be an SEO agency out there that's like super dark and super masculine and super like straightforward. Like I add personality and I curse and
Mm.
I like to have fun. And I think that's really what helped me take my business to the next level because people wanted to work with me, not just any SEO agency or anything like that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, right? Like, if you need skill, yes, but then at the end of the day, there are loads of skilled people.
Yeah.
And it's, I rather know, oh, okay, this person also aligns with how I see the world, with my
Yeah.
values, and especially like has like shows compassion and understanding if I tell them, sorry, can't do the meeting later today. My kid is sick. I am
Yeah.
sick. Whatever, right? Because this is my life. I have a 4-year-old. I have a chronic illness, and this is no excuse. But sometimes just life happens. And if you're
Yeah.
being a whiny little bitch about it, then we cannot work together because
Yeah.
it it will both make us both miserable, right?
Yeah.
I will feel
Yeah.
guilty. You'll feel disappointed. And it's just like, where. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, I had COVID for 3 weeks in January of this year. And I was so sick. I was like knocked off my ass. I could not go for a walk. I couldn't
Wow.
cook for myself. Like I was really, really sick. And I thought, well, there goes my business. Like I'm going to lose everything and all my clients are going to quit on me because I can't attend meetings and I can't do work for them. And January was one of my highest months in business by far. Like it was a 5-figure month. I hit all my revenue goals for like the first month of the year. I had no idea. And I just had to email my clients and say, I have COVID. I'm like super sick and I can't work right now. I'm so sorry. I'm going to, extend this or whatever. And they were like, oh my gosh, we're sick too. Like we're not doing any work. Feel free,
Yeah.
and I actually got new clients because I would wrote, I'm out sick for COVID. And they're like, well, when you get back, I'd love to book a strategy call. And it's like, oh, I can actually be a human and still run my business, still make money. And like you said, like family is everything. Your health is everything. And if you can't be a human in your own business, then why did we leave corporate and, go all in on this? So I think it's really important to just be authentic and share what you're going through in life. You don't have to like have a diary on your social media, but I think it's really important and people will want to work with you more, I find.
Yeah, and it's one of the big strengths, right? Really show your humanness. That's what the big corporations have a really hard time to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then you just kind of like allowing yourself to be more vulnerable and like openly share like, look, this is what's going on. It is what it is. Um,
Mhm.
like how can we navigate this together? Um, yeah, in my experience, that has always been like the key or like the highway to do things
Mm.
because I've always been met with so much understanding and so much compassion. So it has never failed me as kind of like as a strategy to be human.
Yeah.
I mean, just even say that is like so messed up.
No, I love that. Yeah,
So
that's so good.
so you said like, okay, um, January was like a big month for you. I'm curious, like how do you like measure progress now, or what does making progress mean to you? Like how do you define that now that you're in business for yourself?
Yeah, a couple different ways. For me as a human, I no longer have daily panic attacks and I have so much more
That's a
balance
good
in my
thing.
life. It's very good. It's really helpful for me. Yeah. But I just feel better. Like I feel so much better in my life. I feel like I have so much less stress and I thought I would have way more stress and there's still stress in entrepreneurship, but it just feels so much more balanced and like, okay, I can wake up and not have to check my chat right away or my email right away. So that's really nice. But, I think with income, you can kind of get stuck in your head a little bit where you're like, I have to make this amount of money, or, this person is hitting six figures or seven figures, and the comparison is real there. But I feel like for me, I just had to like welcome what was going to come to me. Like if I have one client one month or 10 clients, like I just have to be present. I have to do my best and show up and invest in each one of those clients that I have. Again, no matter if it's like a $2,000 client or like a $10,000 client, you have to show up. And so I think that really, when you can sleep at night and be like, I'm not that stressed anymore. I love my life and I love my clients and I love getting to help my clients. I think that shows you that you've come a really long way. And yeah, it might take a little time to get there, but at the end of the day, you just have to feel really good about what you do because it's your business. It's like everything, right? A corporate job, you can leave it, but when you're an entrepreneur, it really is you as a person, your business, your finances, and your family life. So I think, once you can find that balance and that peace in your life, for me, that's how, I've known and realized that like I've made it, quote unquote, or like
Yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
doing something that just brings me so much happiness.
Oh, I love this. Love this journey for you.
Thank you. I love it for us. So we're doing it.
Yes, right. And it's so deeply personal, individual for all of us, right? And it's always kind of like good to remind yourself to, I don't know, even as you just shared it like out loud, to kind of like tell yourself that again in different
Yeah.
ways, whether you're jamming to journal about it, to write it down, or voice it out loud. I know I have to. I mean, I am a self-talker, so I hear myself talk.
Yeah.
But it's just so important to kind of like always remind you of that again. Um,
Yeah.
because we kind of like lose track of that sometimes. And we feel
Yeah.
like I remember there was my first year was really good. And my second year was kind of like it was okay, but it was not as good as my first.
Mm.
And it was kind of like, oh, I'm not making any progress. Ugh. And then I I talked to my partner and I'm like, I'm not making any progress. I'm not making so much money. I'm like, oh. Um, and then he's like, well, like tough shit, right?
Mm.
Like he was like, well, I mean, yeah, okay, you might not make as much money yet in this year like you did last year, but like I don't know, we go on more dates together.
Yeah.
Like you're not like frantically obsessively retelling everything that happened at work today to me over and over
Yeah.
again because you need to process. Like you're just more chill.
Yeah. That's
So
everything.
so that's progress. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, very true. Thank you
Mm.
for feeding me a spoon of my own medicine.
Yeah, that's so good. And when the people around you realize that you're happier and that, there is progress, like that means so much. Like I'm single, so I don't have someone to talk to every single day besides like friends and family, but they do notice. And sometimes you just need to realize like, you know what? I am killing it. Like I'm doing a good job, even though like, yeah, maybe I went down a month or whatever. Like, you just have to be proud of yourself because not a lot of people start a business and put this much energy into it. So
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you too, because that's amazing.
I'm very proud of you too.
Thank you. Let's hug virtually.
Virtual group hug.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. Okay. We're coming towards the end, and this was like a very beautiful ending. I'm like, I kind of like want to end it now, but I have a few more things.
Yeah.
First, how can people find you online if they're like, oh, I need help with my SEO, or I just want to hang out with Lindsay? Where can people reach you?
Yes. So probably just my Instagram for the Happy Marketing Co. It's at the Happy Marketing Co. That's where I share a lot of SEO and website tips to really just help your business grow organically through your website. And I also like to have fun there too, but you can find me on my personal page. It's the Lindsay with an A .May. And that's where I share like the day-to-day of entrepreneurship and the struggle and how to support yourself and your mental health, and where I share the podcast. And so I have a lot of fun there. And I just love connecting with entrepreneurs and supporting everyone's journey because I know how hard it is. But yeah, I'd love to connect with you all.
Perfect. Yay. Yes, let's do that. And I have like a quick rapid fire question round. You ready?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, so number one, what would be your number one advice for anyone starting out in their business?
You have to take one step each day. You have to take one action each day to build toward that, because it's not all going to happen at once. So freaking go for it. Take a little step today while you're listening to this episode. And I promise it's going to get easier and you're going to get even more motivated to just go all in and go for it.
Oh, yes, I love that. Okay, 2, what goal or dream you have always had but haven't yet pursued?
Ooh. I would love to go on a stage and talk about SEO because it's not very sexy.
Oh.
I would like to make it fun and funny.
Well, I think the
just...
SEO is very sexy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it can be. It can make you a lot of money, right? So it's pretty sexy.
I love everything organic.
Yeah. Me too. I love it. Yes, that's a dream.
And plus, there are not many women in SEO.
Exactly.
It's a lot of dudes. A lot of bros.
A lot of dudes. A lot of bros. I'm not a bro, I promise. Yeah. I'll bring some humor.
Yeah. Do something fun and chic. Like I'll be there. Like that sounds like fun. Yeah. And last but not least, what book are you currently reading or listening to?
Ooh, okay. So the book that like gets me through this entrepreneurship journey is You're a Badass at Making Money, because it just like Jen is the author. She has so much humor and practicality, but also like really good tips that like really put it into perspective for you. And you're like, you know what? I am a badass at making money, even if it's a little bit right now. I'm building out my empire, and it just gives you a lot of confidence. So definitely read that or listen to that because it's so empowering.
Oh yeah. And you're right. They're really so much fun. So yeah, that's a very good book tip. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for spending some time with me on the Scenic Route. It was so lovely to have you here. And
it was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
And just like that, we've reached the end of another journey together on the Scenic Route Podcast. Thank you for spending time with us. Curious for more stories or in search of the resources mentioned in today's episode? Visit us at scenicroutepodcast.com for everything you need. And if you're ready to embrace your scenic route, I've got something special for you. Step off the beaten path with my Scenic Route Affirmation Card Deck. It's crafted for those moments when you're seeking courage, yearning to trust your inner voice, and eager to carve out a path authentically, unmistakably yours. Pick your Scenic Route affirmation today and let it support you. Excited about where your journey might lead? I certainly am. Remember, the Scenic Route is not just about the destination, but the experiences, learnings, and joy we discover along the way. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on the Scenic Route again.